Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking every layer of the incredible novel, The Enchanted April. Get ready for a deep dive into its characters, themes, and, the hidden meanings behind the story.
Absolutely. Our mission today is really to walk you through this enchanting tale, following its narrative pretty much beat by beat.
Yeah, and we really want to shine a light on those pivotal plot twists, the things that make it so, utterly captivating. So let's unpack this. Okay, so we begin our journey, like a lot of these transformative stories do, in a place of, well, real discontent. For our characters, that place is London.
But not the vibrant London you might think of. No, this is London draped in gloom.
Exactly. The book explicitly says horrible sooty rain falling steadily. It just sets the scene, doesn't it? And right in the middle of this dampness, which feels like it's seeping into everything, we meet two women, both kind of caught in their own quiet despair.
And what's immediately fascinating, I think, is how the author uses that setting. It's not just background noise. That constant rain, it mirrors their internal state, right? It's this pervasive dampness that's gotten into their spirits, leaving them feeling trapped and unseen. It's like an internal climate as much as external weather.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the novel jumps right in, introducing us to Mrs. Wilkins, Lottie. Her inner world feels just as damp and overlooked as that London rain.
She's described as perpetually shy, isn't she? Timid, overlooked.
Totally. Her home life is that horrible, sooty rain. It really hammers home her feeling emotionally soaked, drained. The author literally says she feels practically invisible. Can you imagine that? Just existing, but feeling like you might as well not be there.
It sounds soul-crushing.
It really does. She dreads social events with her husband, Muller's Wilkins. He's a solicitor, especially with his impressionist painter friends. She feels she has nothing to say, just murmurs marvelous sometimes.
But nobody listens.
Nobody listens. The text says, nobody took any notice of Mrs. Wilkins. She knows her clothes are infested by thrift. Her face is non-arresting. Her conversation is reluctant because she genuinely thinks she has nothing valuable to offer. It's just an erasure.
And her husband, Mellersh, he kind of amplifies that feeling, doesn't he? He's described as pithy, prudent, obviously reliable.
Sounds solid. Maybe too solid.
Well, exactly. So reliable that people switch solicitors to him, which, professionally great for him, but it just further blots out Mrs. Wilkins, even his sister, who sounds pretty formidable.
Oh, yeah. Judicial, the digested, and the final. That description.
Right. She suggests Lottie should just stay home. But Mellersh, as a family solicitor, needs her. He needs to parade her at parties, at church. It's a duty for her, this performance.
No joy in it for her at all.
None. And later, looking back from Italy, she realizes that maybe their constant closeness, never being apart for 2 whole years, is actually the problem. Sure. Maybe they both need a break from that suffocation.
That makes sense. It's this stifling routine, this lack of personal joy, that really sets the stage. Okay, then we have Mrs. Arbuthnot, Rose. Lottie knows her from church, the club.
And on the surface, Rose seems, very efficient. She helps the poor, gets kids into pews, all that.
But the author immediately hits us with her sad face, like a patient and disappointed Madonna. There's nothing bright and brisk about her, even though Mellersh thinks efficiency should equal cheerfulness. It's all a mask.
Yeah, and her sadness, it's not just general gloom like Lottie's invisibility. It's rooted in something specific and quite heartbreaking. Her husband, Frederick.
The author.
The author of dreadful books, memoirs under another name, implied to be pretty scandalous stuff, and he's emotionally distant. So distant that Rose basically retreated to the feet of God for comfort.
And the tragedy. Her child died years ago.
Yes, and she pours all that love, that maternal feeling into charity, into the poor. The book says she found peace by forgetting happiness, actively shutting it out.
Wow. Is that devotion or just coping?
That's the question, isn't it? Is it genuine altruism, or is it her way of managing grief and disappointment? It feels like this quiet resignation, turning away from personal joy to find some kind of melancholy peace.
Such a poignant detail. Her whole life is like this monument to duty, built on grief. And then, out of nowhere, a tiny spark. In a newspaper, hashtag 1.2, the advertisement and an unlikely connection. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Both women, separately, are reading the Times.
And they both land on the exact same advertisement. For a small medieval castle in Italy, for rent, in April, with wisteria.
That wisteria feels important. And the description in the ad, it's everything their London lives are not. It talks about color, fragrance, light, the soft lapping of the sea among little hot rocks.
Compared to Shaftesbury Avenue and the wet omnibuses and the fish department at Shoolbred's, the contrast is almost painful.
It's not just a holiday rental, it's like a portal, a sensory opposite to their grim reality.
Yeah, the author makes that contrast so stark. It's brilliant. It's like drab reality versus this almost Edenic escape. And the ad isn't just a listing, it's this potent promise of a different existence, an awakening they didn't even know they were craving.
And for Lottie, it's more than just an idea, it's a revelation. She literally sees them sitting together under a great trailing wisteria.
It's almost prophetic for her. This isn't just about a vacation, it's about rediscovering themselves.
And then Lottie does something completely out of character, shockingly bold for her.
Yeah, what's that?
Pure impulse. She leans across the table to Rose and just asks, "Are you reading about the medieval castle and the wisteria?"
Wow, for shy Lottie, that's huge.
Huge. The book says even she is shocked. It shows how desperate she is for a break, for something beautiful. She knows she can't afford it alone, but this vision of them together lets her dream. And then she says it. Why don't we try and get it?
Just like that. Just like that. And her reasoning is amazing. She says it would be unselfish to go away and be happy for a little because we would come back so much nicer. Like happiness is a duty they owe others.
That's a unique justification, but fascinating. Lottie doesn't just wish, she sees it. And reaching out to Rose, almost a stranger, that's the first crack in her invisible shell.
It's a total moment of breaking character, radical self-assertion triggered by this shared, unspoken longing the ad brought out.
Makes you think, doesn't it? About our own unspoken desires and what happens if we just voice them. It's a tiny act, but it starts everything. Hashtag 1.3, internal conflict and tentative agreement.
And Rose's reaction. Predictably, she's left feeling wobbly.
Understandable. Lottie's suggestion forces her to question everything, her compass points of God, husband, home, and duty.
Those are the pillars of her whole life. And Lottie's dream threatens to knock them down. Rose tries to dismiss it, right? Categorize Lottie as nerves or hysteria.
Yeah, she tries to intellectualize it, contain it.
Yeah.
Because it shakes her whole worldview. And Rose has money, that nest egg she saved. Ah, yes. The post office savings bank money.
But she struggles massively with spending it on self-indulgence, especially with her charity work, the needs of the poor. And then there's the source of the money.
Frederick's dreadful books.
Exactly. She sees it as corrupt money from his scandalous memoirs. So spending it on pleasure feels doubly wrong, almost sinful. She found peace by forgetting happiness, shutting out beauty because it reminds her of pain.
But the castle, it's tempting.
Oh, incredibly. Despite her reservations, she admits it would be most beautiful, even if it feels wrong.
And then Lottie jumps in with that killer line. It would only be for a month. Makes it seem less like a huge betrayal of duty, more like a brief detour.
It does, and then Lottie really gets through to her. She says something incredibly blunt.
What's that?
She looks at Rose and says she knows Rose has been good for years and years because you look so unhappy.
Oof, that cuts deep.
Right through the facade. And then Lottie shares her own misery. I've done nothing but duties, and I don't believe anybody loves me a bit.
Wow, that shared vulnerability, that's the key, isn't it?
It's the real catalyst. This raw, shared unhappiness breaks down Rose's defenses. When Lottie talks about wanting something else, Rose just can't dismiss it anymore. Lottie's vulnerability lets Rose acknowledge her own suppressed longings.
So they agree. Tentatively.
They decide there's no harm in simply asking. That first small step. And it's Rose, the organizer, who writes the letter.
And mailing it. It feels illicit.
Totally. The book says they feel surprise, guilt, and like a woman who has come away from a secret meeting with her lover.
Perfect description. Their lives have been immaculately good, so this small rebellion feels huge. A secret pact.
It's a quiet revolution against their own lives. Shows how even constrained lives hold sparks of desire, potential for change.
Okay, so they've made the pact. Mailed the letter. But dreams of medieval castles, they come with practicalities, like money.
Indeed. The owner writes back, Mr. Briggs, an Englishman, he lists the amenities. Beds enough for 8 people. 3 sitting rooms, battlements, dungeons, and electric light.
Sounds amazing. Dungeons. But then the price.
£60 for the month, plus servant wages and references.
£60. The book says it staggered them. They were thinking, what, 3 guineas a week?
Something much smaller, yeah. This huge sum causes immediate dismay. They almost give up. For Rose, 60 pounds means endless vistas of stout boots for the poor.
Her duty-bound mind kicks in immediately.
Absolutely. She can't reconcile this extravagance with self-indulgence. The conflict between wanting beauty and feeling obligated is intense for her.
And then the reference problem, that's a big one.
Huge. Their whole plan relied on secrecy, telling their families they were just staying with a friend in Italy.
To avoid Mellersh's indignation.
And Frederick's crushing detachment, which Rose found even worse. Lottie knew Mellersh would be furious if she spent her own money like this.
But references would blow their cover completely.
Exactly. Frederick wouldn't mind her going, probably, but he'd be indifferent, maybe tell her not to hurry back. That emotional abandonment is what Rose dreads.
So money's an issue, secrecy's an issue. How do they possibly manage this?
Rose. Practical Rose steps up. She takes the full 60 pounds in cash herself, skipping Lottie's share, and delivers it to Briggs.
She looks furtive and apologetic, doing it right, still feeling guilty.
Yeah, even to the bank clerk. But Briggs sees her soft, dark eyes and sober apparel, her grave voice, and he's charmed. He thinks she's a war widow.
Oh, wow. A complete misunderstanding.
But a crucial one. Moved by this image of dignified sorrow, he waives the references entirely.
Just like that.
Just like that. It's a key moment. Shows Rose's quiet strength, her ability to act, even if it feels morally dodgy to her. She uses her dignity to clear the path. Hashtag 2.2, the search for companions.
Okay, so the money's paid, references waived, miraculously. And Lottie, feeling bolder now, has another idea.
Her optimism is really kicking in, isn't it? Or maybe just her lack of tact, as you said.
Could be both. She suggests advertising in the agony column of the Times for 2 more ladies to share the cost. Bring it down from half each to a quarter.
Which is pretty ingenious, actually. And this brings 2 amazing, very different characters into the story.
Right. First, Lady Caroline Dester. Young, only 28.
And stunningly beautiful. Nicknamed Scrap because she's so slender. Fair hair, lovely gray eyes, but she's bored. Utterly bored with society life.
She wants a blank month, doesn't she?
Yeah.
No expectations, no social games, just anonymity with strangers.
Exactly. She hates staying with friends or in hotels because it's all performance. She wants to shed her public self.
And then, the complete opposite, Mrs. Fisher.
Elderly, intensely respectable widow. Her house sounds like a museum. Signed photos of Carlyle, Matthew Arnold, Tennyson.
People she claims she knew as a child. Shows her age and connections.
Definitely. She uses a walking stick, seems convinced everyone else must be a widow too, even young Lady Caroline. And she's still in full black mourning, 11 years after her husband died. The absolute picture of Victorian propriety.
And their first meeting is pure gold, isn't it?
Oh, the reference scene. Hilarious. Lottie, in her new, uninhibited way, mentions seeing Keats at Mrs. Fisher's house, the poet who died ages ago.
And Mrs. Fisher takes this completely literally.
Instantly. She's perturbed by Mrs. Wilkins seeing things, thinks she's unstable, and demands references from them.
After they just managed to avoid giving any.
I know. Lottie tries to push back, but Mrs. Fisher is ready. She calmly pulls out her own references.
And they are.
The president of the Royal Academy, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the governor of the Bank of England. Boom.
Mic drop. You can't top that.
It's pure social one-upmanship. Shows how that Victorian class system worked. She uses her connections as a shield, a weapon, a comfort blanket, establishes her authority instantly. It's less about who you are, more about who you know.
Incredible. What a clash of personalities heading to Italy. But first, one last hurdle back in London. A rather dreadful March awaits.
Yeah, that whole month of March is described as full of unpleasant, anxious moments, especially for Rose. Her super sensitive conscience is just nagging her constantly.
Nudging her at her prayers, the book says. Meanwhile, Lottie finally screws up the courage to tell Mellersh. Heart in her mouth, she says. She's been invited to Italy.
And he just doesn't believe her.
Flat out refuses. Demands proof. So Lottie has to drag Rose in to confirm it.
Poor Rose. Feeling like a hypocrite, slipping more and more away from God, telling this half-truth.
And Frederick. True to form, he just gives Rose £100 for her squandering.
Which she immediately gives to charity. Only makes her feel worse about her own supposed indulgence.
That inner voice of hers must be screaming. The book quotes it right. Do you see any real difference between an incomplete impression and a completely stated lie? God sees none.
Ouch. That's harsh. No wonder she's anxious. This whole period of secrecy makes the escape feel absolutely essential for them.
Okay, and now for plot twist number 1. Delicious irony incoming. Lottie tries to smooth things over with Milosh before she leaves. Makes him this perfect lunch, all his favorite things.
Trying to appease him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it works. He's definitely pleased. Thinks maybe he married the right wife after all. Rare praise from him.
Okay. So what's the twist?
Right at this peak of domestic harmony, Milosh announces, completely oblivious, I am thinking of taking you to Italy for Easter.
No! He comes up with the same idea.
The exact same idea, having never taken her abroad before. And he expects astounded and grateful ecstasy.
Which he does not get.
He gets stunned. Silence. He's dumbfounded. Then he cross-examines her severely, demands she refuse this other invitation.
But Lottie...
This is where her unsuspected chucking rock of obstinacy appears. After years of being meek, she just refuses, flat out says no.
Wow, good for her. That's a massive shift.
It is. And poor Rose has to back her up again, feeling that prick of conscience even more sharply.
It's amazing the very situation Lottie created to appease him accidentally triggers his competing plan, which then forces her to be unexpectedly strong.
So the departure isn't exactly joyous. It's described as a confused bad dream. They get to Victoria Station an hour early, full of anxiety.
And Lottie has that line.
We've been too good, much too good. We're browbeaten. We're not any longer real human beings. It's such a sad recognition of what their lives had become.
And then Rose drops her own bombshell on Lottie.
Right. Frederick doesn't even know she's gone. He's busy writing. She just left a note.
Convinced he would not be interested, he would not care. That says so much about their marriage. Heartbreaking.
The journey starts rough too, right? Wretched, blustering, and wet. The crossing was atrocious and they were very sick.
Mirrors their internal state perfectly, but then, crossing the channel, something shifts.
Yeah. Reaching Calais, Paris. The dreariness of England, of Frederick and Milosh. It just faded to the dimness of a dream. Lottie starts feeling lighter.
Like the physical distance is creating emotional distance too. Travel itself is liberating them.
You can almost feel the weight lift as they leave England behind.
Yeah.
Stepping into a new world.
And then they arrive. San Salvatore.
And the contrast. Breathtaking. From gleamy London to this place. The air is still, light golden, this delicate warmth, that caressing fragrance. It's paradise.
And Lottie's reaction is immediate, not gradual at all.
No, instantly. The author uses this amazing image. She flung off all her garments and dived straight into glory, unhesitatingly with a cry of rapture.
Like a baptism into joy, a total metamorphosis.
Exactly. She feels naked of goodness and was rejoicing in being naked, shedding all those constraints. And Milosh, the guy who blotted her out.
What happens to him in her mind?
He began to shimmer, became rose color, became delicate violet, became formless, became iridescent. He just dissolves into light. She can't even picture him properly anymore. He's lost his power over her.
That's incredible imagery, a real shedding of her old self.
She starts noticing herself, her curly honey hair that Milosh never saw. And the idea of being afraid of him, she laughs at it now. Fear's just gone. She feels immense happiness, blesses God for everything, especially his inestimable love, this profound liberation.
Rose's transformation is slower though, right? More subtle.
Much slower, but still profound. She wakes up feeling a delightful feeling of security, of relief. No more miserable dream about Frederick.
Just that absence shows how much her marriage weighed on her.
Definitely. And she finds Lottie's unrestrained joy. We are. This is everything. She finds it divine. Lottie's enthusiasm starts stying her out.
But it's not complete happiness for Rose, is it?
No. Despite the beauty, she feels something's missing. She needs someone to share it with. Specifically, Frederick.
Ah, so the place makes her long for him more.
In a way, yes. It makes her re-examine their marriage. She realizes he's bored by her. She questions her own straight-lacedness, her austere absorption in good works. Did her goodness frighten love away?
Painful questions to ask herself.
Very. But seeing Mr. Wilkins transform in Lottie's mind, it gives her hope. Could a miracle happen for Frederick, too? She decides to write to him, actively reaching out, instead of just resigning herself. Hashtag 3.3.
Yeah.
The other lady's early adjustments.
Okay, so while Lottie and Rose are having these initial transformations, the other two arrive. Lady Caroline.
Right, and true to form, she immediately looks for her own spot in the garden, wishing for nets for keeping people off.
Still wants that solitude. Sees San Salvatore initially as just another place to ward off interactions.
But even she isn't immune. The castle starts working on her. She feels this unexpected prick of conscience, telling her she's tawdry.
Interesting. A crack in her cynicism already. Some self-reflection creeping in.
Seems like it. And her quest for solitude gets hilariously interrupted by plot twist number 2.
Ah, the famous bathroom incident.
Yes, Mr. Wilkins, who surprisingly has followed Lottie there.
We didn't mention his arrival yet, but yes, he shows up.
He tries to take a bath, but the patent stove is too complicated, the Italian servants freak out, and there's a massive flood.
And Wilkins emerges.
Naked.
Yeah.
Right in front of Lady Caroline.
Pure slapstick.
Yeah.
But it's important, isn't it?
Crucial. This incredibly embarrassing moment creates a secret understanding between them. Caroline, used to predatory men, finds Wilkins completely disarming because he's so mortified and vulnerable.
He's not a threat, just a human.
Exactly. And she actually starts to like him. Sees past the stuffy solicitor. It breaks down her defenses in a really unexpected, funny way.
Brilliant writing. Okay, and Mrs. Fisher. How does she settle in?
She asserts authority immediately, takes over the breakfast table, hits a gong, orders milk in the language of Dante, acts like she owns the place.
Very much in character.
She dislikes Lottie's enthusiasm but feels too respectable to be bothered. But the castle affects her too. Her restlessness increases. She can't sit still, wanders around feeling this curious sensation.
Which worries her.
Yeah. And she starts using Lottie's kind of language, calling her maids back home dusty old things. Lottie's influence is seeping in.
Subtly.
Very. She even wishes she could confide in Lottie about her strange feelings, but her dignity stops her.
So even the most rigid characters are starting to feel the shift. The castle's working its magic. Hashtag 3.4. New dynamics and subtle shifts.
Right, and these shifts lead to new dynamics, like between Lottie and Lady Caroline or Scrap.
Caroline was afraid Lottie would be clingy, grabbing.
But that fear turns out to be grotesque. Totally wrong. Instead, they become easy friends. Caroline and Lottie. Lottie's completely unreserved, which makes Scrap unreserved too.
An unlikely pairing, the effusive Lottie and the cynical aristocrat, but it works because it's not forced.
Meanwhile, Mr. Wilkins isn't just bumbling around after the bath incident. He's got his eye on business.
Ah, the solicitor never rests.
He wants to be a treasure to the ladies, hoping for future clients. He pays special attention to Lady Caroline, thinking her beauty might hide past troubles needing legal advice.
Calculating, but his approach is different.
Yes, he's all respectfulness towards her, which she finds a huge relief compared to the usual predatory types. His professional ambition makes him weirdly unthreatening to her.
Interesting irony there, okay? And this leads to another twist.
Plot twist number 3. The housekeeping resolution. Mrs. Fisher complains to Wilkins about Scrap letting the bills pile up. Typical aristocratic carelessness, in her view.
And Wilkins is horrified.
Utterly shocked. Lady Caroline, daughter of the Droitwiches, dealing with mundane housekeeping. It offends his sense of social order.
So how does Caroline handle it?
Brilliantly. With this serene smile, she just offers to pay all the first week's bills herself, calls it my present to San Salvatore. Effortless generosity.
Wow, takes the wind right out of their sails.
Completely. And then she shrewdly suggests Wilkins, with his financial know-how, should sort out a fixed rate with the cook for the future.
So she pays up and delegates the future work. Clever.
Very. This act, combining generosity and practicality, plus Wilkins's admiration for blue blood and free-handedness, totally wins over Mrs. Fisher and cements Wilkins' respect for Caroline.
Her aristocratic nonchalance actually solves the problem and boosts her status. Amazing.
Yeah, she sidesteps the boring stuff while looking magnanimous. Shows how even rigid social rules are bending under San Salvatore's influence.
So as April wears on, things are really starting to simmer. Those seeds of change are deepening.
The atmosphere is getting richer. Rose is still struggling, her bosom thoughts aching for Frederick. But Wilkins's transformation gives her hope, and she finally writes that letter to her husband.
A big step for her. And Mrs. Fisher, still restless.
More than ever, she feels this curious sensation of rising sap, like she's going to burgeon.
A strange feeling for her age.
Ridiculous, she thinks, but it's distracting, keeps her moving. She even thinks maybe Lottie would understand, but her dignity still holds her back.
And Wilkins is watching all this?
Oh, yeah. The ever-observant solicitor sees Fisher's restlessness, Rose's quiet longing, thinks they both have something on their mind, potential clients. He especially cultivates Rose, thinking her author husband, Frederick, could be worthwhile. Always networking.
Okay, so the stage is set, and then a telegram arrives.
Plot twist number 4. The owner returns. Rose gets a telegram, but it's not from Frederick, it's from Thomas Briggs.
The owner of the castle.
Saying he's passing through. May I pay my respects this afternoon? And Rose turns pale. It feels like a blow. She was desperately hoping for word from Frederick.
Oh, the disappointment. But Briggs's intentions are innocent.
Entirely. He's genuinely developed a liking for Rose, sees her as mild, milky, mothery. He's picturing her using his house, his things. He wants to show her the Madonna portrait that looks like her. He's quite smitten, really, and clueless about the timing.
So he arrives. How does that go?
They take a walk to the lighthouse. Briggs, unable to hide anything, tells Rose how much he admired her back in London. And Rose,
She's pleased, visibly brightens up, becomes more attractive than ever, says interesting and even amusing things. Being seen really brings her out of her shell.
but Wilkins is watching.
Always watching. Sees Rose's change, thinks, trouble brewing, trouble sooner or later. Already planning his advisory role.
And even Mrs. Fisher is charmed by Briggs. Sees him as a man of property, likes his youthfulness, becomes gracious, calls him my dear boy.
And she laughs for the first time.
A huge moment for her, which leads right into plot twist number 5.
Lottie's kiss.
Exactly. Lottie comes back from a picnic, sees Fisher laughing, and instantly thinks she's burst her cocoon. Pure intuition.
And she just acts on it.
Impulsively kisses Mrs. Fisher over the back of her chair. A real kiss. And it sends this queer little trickle of warmth through Mrs. Fisher's frozen defenses.
After 11 years of mourning, that must have been powerful. A simple, affectionate touch.
Huge. And the camaraderie builds. Lottie, with Mrs. Fisher surprising okay, insists Briggs stay at the castle, not a hotel. He's delighted the bonds are really tightening, but the biggest drama is yet to come.
Okay, the dinner scene. This is where it all comes together, isn't it? Lady Caroline's upstairs, trying to avoid Briggs's admiration. She sees it as another demand being grabbed at.
Right. And to shield herself, she's invited someone else, hasn't she? Without telling anyone.
Ferdinand Arundel, an author, friend of her mother. Just a temporary shelter from Mr. Briggs. Reinforces her desire to stay detached. Blank.
So the guests gather for dinner. Wilkins, Briggs are there now. And then Frederick Arbuthnot walks in.
Bam! Plot twist number 6. And Rose's reaction.
Utter delight. Unheard of for her. Rushes to him, takes his hand, beaming, announces, "My husband." Complete surprise to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's her moment of joy and vindication.
But not joyful for Frederick. At all.
Not even remotely. Which brings us to plot twist number 7. The big one. Frederick is mortified. Horrified. Why?
Because the name he's been using to see Lady Caroline in London is Arundel.
The man she just invited. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Caroline thinks Arundel is unmarried and came to San Salvatore to see her. And Frederick has literally just been passionately embracing Rose, his actual life, minutes before dinner.
He's caught.
Yeah.
Spectacularly. His double life just implodes right there at the dinner table.
The tension must have been unbelievable. You can just imagine his face. Panic, desperation.
But then Lottie saves the day. Again. In a blessedly impetuous moment, she just blurts out, "Just fancy, Caroline, how quickly Rose's husband has followed her."
Perfect timing. Innocent, sounds plausible, and completely deflects the disaster.
It prevents Frederick from having to explain anything to Caroline, and Caroline, showing amazing decency, just accepts it. Doesn't expose him.
And Frederick realizes in that moment how much he values her for that, right? Her loyalty of a man, admires her integrity.
Incredible composure from Caroline. And quick thinking from Lottie, the agent of chaotic good. So what happens after the bomb is diffused.
Reconciliation. Frederick and Rose, having had the shock, actually connect. They embrace, realize they have a great deal to say to each other. Their relationship is suddenly renewed, restored.
San Salvatore works its magic even through near disaster.
And Scrap, Lady Caroline, watches this, sees Frederick as just a rather red, rather round man, but realizes Rose sees past that because she loved him. It's a moment of real insight for cynical Scrap about love.
And it makes her feel
Compunction. Regret. She goes to Briggs, admits, "I owe you so much," humbled by her previous churlishness. Sees herself as spoilt, a sour, selfish spinster. Tells Briggs, "You're worth 50 of me."
wow. A huge admission from her.
Massive. Even Wilkins is shocked by this, thinks she's being unwise, encouraging Briggs, still thinking she needs his legal advice.
He hasn't quite caught the San Salvatore vibe yet, but everyone else has been pulled out of their cocoons, connected in unexpected ways.
And so we reach the final week, and everything is just blooming, literally and metaphorically.
The syringa, the acacias are flowering. It symbolizes the characters' transformations, doesn't it? The whole place is like a garden of the soul.
Beautifully put. Lottie is still the heart of it, just delighted by more love being introduced, convinced happiness is simply in the air. Her joy has been the catalyst.
And Mrs. Fisher,
Yeah.
fully emerged from her cocoon.
Completely. She's like a pleased mother to Briggs now. Jovial, warm, even tells him her difficulty is to keep her secrets from bursting out. the total opposite of the rigid woman who arrived.
The dam has definitely broken for her. And Rose and Frederick.
Deeply connected, exploring the garden together, their relationship fully restored, renewed. Rose got exactly what she yearned for, sharing the beauty with him. It shows what can happen when you escape the drudgery and just communicate.
It really does. And Scrap, Lady Caroline.
She's shed her cynicism, found empathy, but she realizes Briggs, the kind owner, is the only one left unblessed romantically, despite his feelings for Rose.
But Lottie has one last prediction, right?
Or maybe just wishful thinking. Lottie declares, "I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Caroline doesn't end by getting fond of the young man Briggs. It's in the air. You have to get fond of people here."
Suggesting a relationship between aristocratic Caroline and Commodore Briggs.
Mm.
How does Wilkins react?
He is very angry indeed. Sees it as an outrageous insult to the entire race of Desters, a complete affront to his social order.
The ultimate disruption. But it shows how far things have shifted. The blooming flowers mirror the blooming characters. San Salvatore's natural beauty allowed for this deep personal change, breaking down social barriers, emotional walls.
Exactly. They arrived bound by duty, expectations. They leave unbound, having found themselves. San Salvatore wasn't just a place, it was an agent of change, a crucible.
It allowed them to shed those prescribed roles and find their authentic selves, open them up to joy, connection, possibilities they never dreamed of.
It really highlights how much our environment can shape us. Sometimes you just need that radical change of scenery to break free from limitations from a life lived only by duty.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What hidden parts of ourselves might blossom if we just gave them the right conditions, the right light.
What a journey. From sooty London despair to sun-drenched Italian self-discovery, it really makes you think about those little advertisements for change in our own lives. Are we brave enough to answer them?
That bold, uncharacteristic step. Like Lottie leaning across the table.
And what might emerge if we found ourselves in a place where expectations just melt away, like Mellersh dissolving into iridescence in Lottie's mind. Maybe the real enchantment isn't just the place, but the courage to seek it.
And there you have it. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us and this story. If you enjoyed it, a simple like or subscribe helps the channel out more than you know. Be good and take care.